Mark. Get set.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today we're taking a look at Track and Field 2, brought to us by Konami and released for the NES back in 1988. This was a game that I spent a lot of time with when I was a kid, and one I still enjoy revisiting from time to time, even though it can be exhausting, but we'll get into that a bit later on. Track and Field 2 boasts access to 15 different events this time around, and the game is based on the Seoul Olympic Games, so Taekwondo competition has been added in. You've got 3 different game modes to choose from here. The first is Training, which will let you hone your skills on each event separately to try and reach a qualifying status. There's Olympic mode, which will have you represent the country of your choice and set off to do battle with the world's great Olympians over several days of competition. And lastly, there's a versus mode for 2 players with fencing, taekwondo, and arm wrestling. The arm wrestling minigame is exclusively in the 2-player versus mode, and it can be a blast to play with a friend. The issue with Track and Field 2 is in the way that the game controls. It's not that it's unresponsive, but in the majority of the events, you have to mash A or B, and sometimes both, to fill up a power meter before you can do whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. The problem with this is that the threshold is set way too high, and it can be near impossible a lot of the time to fill the bar to where you need it to be, especially in some of the later stages in the events, like in hurdles or archery. If you've got an NES Max controller, use it here. This game was meant for this controller, in my opinion. It's not going to save you in some sports, though, and a few can be really tricky the first time you try them. The canoeing section doesn't explain what you actually need to do to get through certain goals without getting penalized until after you cross the finish line, and the clay pigeon shooting is done by using a crosshair on the D-pad, which makes it even harder to be accurate, especially with only 2 shots. If you play this game with a standard NES controller, you're in for one hell of a rough time, but I'm not saying that it can't be done. I just can't do it that way. The graphics in Track and Field 2 are leaps and bounds better than that of the original. The level of detail in this game is staggering sometimes. The athletes are super detailed, and the backdrops for most of the events look really colorful and sharp. This is one great looking NES game with a lot of variety in the visuals too, being that there are so many different events to enjoy. The music is tremendous too, with a bunch of super memorable songs that help set the mood and get your blood pumping. The crowd is always roaring before and after each stage, and it really does immerse you into the excitement. The voice samples are pretty good, although a tad muffled. I just remember getting so tired of hearing it say, "disqualified," as a kid. Ugh.
Disqualified.
And that's Track and Field 2 for the NES. I grew up with this one, and my brother and I wore out our controllers playing through it, but it was a ton of fun back then, and you know what? It's still a great game today. I highly recommend picking it up for the few bucks that it'll cost you, but heed my warnings on the controls if you've never played it before. I do strongly suggest using some sort of turbo controller or one with a turbo option so you can really get the most out of some of the events. Just about all of them are fun though, and the game does offer quite a decent challenge in Olympic mode. Track and Field 2 is awesome, and really everyone should play it. As always, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, subscribing, and commenting. Patreon link is below in case you're feeling up to supporting the channel. And until next time, stay classic.